whores in this house. There's some 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 whores in this house.
Certified freak, 7 days a week. That wet ass pussy good. My pull up every week. Ooh, yeah. I'm fucking with that wet ass pussy. Swimming in it, baby. I'ma bring a bucket and a mop, darling. Give you everything I got. Yeah. I'm fucking with that wet ass pussy. Beat it up, catch a charge, extra large, and get the car. Put your pussy in my face, swipe my nose, get a card. I want to, you wanna run, do a giggle while it's inside. Spit it up, my girl, while you looking in my eyes. You see it's back, I'ma take a dive. I'ma tie you up like you're a prize. Let's go play, I wear guys. I'ma pop my match. Yeah. I'm fucking with that wet ass pussy. Women in it, baby.
Yes, that's what we doing here at the Beer Chicken Podcast, man. I would have turned it down and let that shit kept rolling, but
Thank you. I appreciate you. Just know for all the Beer and Chicken fans, since I'm not able to DJ anymore, we have to rely on Antoine to provide us with the audio and everything, and not that I don't approve, but hey, it's a good laugh.
Hey man, I fucks with it. I came across that on Twitter, man. It was like, yo, what if wet ass pussy was like reimagined as an 80s fucking like an 80s bop. And I'm like, you know what? I could fuck with that, man. Like
the fact that it's a real thing.
I can fuck with it, man.
I know you can. He sounds like if he was like an R&B singer, he's like, who's the best R&B singer of all time? Dylan.
It's a young guy, man. His name is Jay Diggs, man. So if you like, he's got a website, man, jdiggs.bandcamp.com. If y'all want to support that brother's artistry or whatever, and buy yourself a copy of that. I think it's only $1, bro. He's selling that shit for $1. So if you want to go ahead and get that joint, man, I think it's dope. And it's a bop. I fucks with it, man. Get the party started, goddammit. But yo, man, it's episode 77 of the podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Mr. Span. I'm here with a homeboy, Cliff, aka DJ Neff. I guess you could say what's up to the people now, man, since you've been shitting on the music choice.
Well, first of all, what's up, people? But the other thing is, wasn't shitting, just more or less like, hey, yeah. Yes,
indeed. It's been it's been a week since the last time we talked to y'all, man. So we ain't really got a whole lot of catching up to do, man. We got some podcasting to do for you, but we do need to tell you guys how to get in touch with us over here at the Beer Chicken Podcast and let your voice be heard. You can go and hit us at the hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. Leave us those voicemail messages. Of course, those messages will get played here live on the show and responded to in kind. You can also email us here at feedback@thespanreport.com. That's feedback@thespanreport.com. Go ahead, leave us those emails, and of course, those emails will get read and replied to here on the show. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Span, and they can hit you up where, Cliff? Oh shit! It looked like Clifton got froze up.
I just had a glitch. Can you hear me?
No. Yeah, I can hear you now, man. How can they get in touch with you, bro?
Okay. DJ Neff Music on Twitter and Instagram. Hit me up. I'll respond just like he does. Just like this dude right there.
You say that. Also, man, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and on Stitcher Radio. Those 5-star reviews are the ones that get back here. So we really appreciate everybody who goes about the business of doing that. Doesn't cost you a dime. Just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Beer and Chicken Podcast, man. So here's the thing, man.
Just like he does. Watch this dude
Oh snap! I didn't mean
right there.
I didn't mean to do that. But yo man, what you been up to this week, bro? What's been happening with you?
Oh my god, what's the deal? Am
What's
I
wrong?
free?
I mean, I am getting a little bit of.
I don't know.
Maybe you should go inside where the signal may be stronger.
I am
Oh,
literally 10, 10 steps from my router.
okay. I'm just
Like
saying.
for real.
I'm just saying, you the man over there sounding like motherfucking Roger Troutman and shit. You sound like Roger Troutman. I was saying to you, man, like what's going on with you this week, man? What's like, what's got you thinking on ever?
A lot of sports. I can't wait to get into what we're gonna talk about. That's for sure. You know what? This is a beautiful day, man. I can't believe the weather is this good compared to the last week here in Chicago, but otherwise, can't complain, man. Can't complain.
All right. Well,
what about you?
And just working, bro. Just working, teaching while at work and stuff or whatever. Not a whole lot, man. Just like trying to get back into the rhythm of doing everything the way everything was, before what happened with Granny, but like just trying to keep everything on up. But we do have some comment. We got a couple comments, as a matter of fact, from episode 75 that I kind of wanted to get into before we get into the show. Some listener feedback. These are comments that were left on our YouTube channel on the video for episode 75. There's no kneeling in baseball. And we got a comment from a Jimmy Younger that says sports is entertainment, and that's all it is. In this politically charged climate, it should have remained a unifying space for sports fans, a comfortable and familiar arena free of divisive political opinion. Millions have reconsidered their interests and decided that watching grown men play with balls isn't something they need to do. The boycott is on. All right. There's actually something that I kind of want to talk about, because this isn't like a sentiment that is unique to this man who decided to hit us up with this comment. This isn't a sentiment that's unique to him. So that's something that was said about the kneeling that was happening in baseball. Another comment that we got was from Monique, and Monique wrote in that the juxtaposition of Lou Williams and his two sister wives and not resisting going to Magic City versus Dwight and whatever he's on versus Maya Moore, sacrificing her prime and bringing black men home from jail versus the WNBA players running into the locker room the minute the national anthem starts is stark. Even Kyle Korver putting in social justice work. We actually expect and accept the bare minimum from NBA players, and that's not spoken about enough. What's Paul George take? Dame have something to say? Kawhi vocal? AD in his brows? Harden? Russ? No, they're silent. But I feel like we probably don't want to hear what they have to say anyway. So, I get the sense that today's show is going to be we're going to be talking about some of the social justice that's been going on in like the sports and whatnot. People are really feeling passionate on both sides of this. The sports. I mean, like the athletes not speaking up enough, or for some fans, the athletes talking a bit too much about some of these things. So that's probably going to be like a theme of today's show. But yo, man, we can get things kicked off with our first topic, man. And what you got for us this week, Cliff? Because I think it's football related, isn't it?
Yeah, let me go pull it real quick. So everybody knows who watched this show that I am a Tom Brady fan. Okay, best quarterback of all time. Y'all know what time it is. We out here doing the thing. Sip on your Crown Peach, right? That's what you got. As you enjoy these statements that come out my mouth.
This is the salted caramel, so.
Oh yeah, salted caramel. Yeah, that too. So, ESPN.com. Tom Brady was New Orleans Saints backup plan if Drew Brees had retired this past season. Can we get a dun 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 dun?
I got you.
Oh, that's hilarious. So It reads, Drew Brees retired after last season. Had Drew Brees retired after last season, as the Saints believe he might, New Orleans' backup plan was to sign Tom Brady, as he was interested in going there, league sources were told. In the opinion of sources close to the situation, the union between Brady and the Saints was more realistic than many realized. It was an opinion, it was an option up until the days before free agency opened, despite Brees' previous public comments in mid-February that he was committed to playing in 2020. Sean Payne and Braden share a respectful relationship, and the Saints believe that they could land Brady according to sources, but the idea of the move was contingent on Brees retiring, which he ultimately opted against doing this year. New Orleans waited to pursue Brady last until mid-March, shortly before Brees finally agreed to sign a 2-year, $50 million deal in March. Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, of course, reached the same exact deal for a 2-year. I'm gonna scroll down in this because I want to read something in here that I actually kind of love. So this is one thing I want to kind of focus on. Brees is 41 years old, NFL's all-time leader in passing yards with 77,416 and touchdown passes with 547. Brady is second in both categories with 74,571 yards and 541 touchdowns. The first of the 2 scheduled meetings this season will mark the first time in the NFL's top 2 in career passing yards have played in the same game since 1988, when Miami's Marino and Elway played against each other. Today, they are on right now. Okay, I find it very interesting that the Saints would go after, and not to knock older athletes. They would go after a player as old as Tom Brady because they picked Brees up young, right? And even though Brady is second to Brees, and of course he has more rings, we all know how that works. But I just found it a little odd because he wouldn't be their long-term plan, and the Saints would inevitably would have started over, being the fact that they got rid of their man. You see what I'm saying? To bring in somebody who is basically the same age and who does not have that much time left on the field. When I read the part about their stats, it kind of felt like they just wanted to replace Brees, but you can't replace Brees. It's like you can't replace Brady. You know what I'm saying? It's like, even though they're like neck and neck as far as statistics and numbers and touchdowns and yards and stuff like that.
I think if you were going to try to replace Brees, Brady would probably be somebody who is, if you were going to get somebody at an advanced stage in their career, if you were going to replace Brees with anybody, Tom Brady would be the guy that you would try to replace him with.
Advanced, though? Would you use the word advanced?
Advanced in age, right? Like
well,
like the age of a football player, these guys are pretty much on the tail end of their careers, man. So, like, if you're going to talk about replacing a guy who's already on the tail end of his career, and you're going to replace him with another guy who's on the tail end of his career, like, you kind of want a guy who's like had the success, had this, the level of production that Tom Brady has had, as opposed to, hey, we might throw John Kitna in there behind Drew Brees. Like, nah, it's not gonna put that's not gonna put butts in the seats. I can guarantee you that the folks in New Orleans, if they were gonna lose Drew Brees, they wouldn't mind having somebody like a Tom Brady playing for them. They just wouldn't.
Well, that's not my angle. It's not that nobody would mind having Tom Brady. Okay, let's just start there. Even the Bears. Tom Brady comes to the Bears. I swear to God, I'm a season ticket holder that day. Okay,
despite the fact that like Mitch Trubisky looked like fucking Tom Brady today against the Detroit Lions. I'm just saying, like, hey man, my Detroit Lions snatched defeat from the arms of victory, bro. Like,
okay, you need to not drink your garlic and salt, whatever you're drinking, because that's the worst statement you've ever said in life. Trubisky looked nothing like Tom Brady. Are you serious? You can't be for real.
I'm trying to throw you a fucking bone here, bro. But like, fuck you.
No bone. I just, that statement.
Man, fuck
the statement.
Just fuck you then. I was trying to talk about the shit, but go on, man. Go on.
All I'm saying is, there's more than one reason why Drew Brees is successful with the Saints, and if you try to replace him with the Brady because he has equal success, I understand that, but you can't. It's about the system. It's about the system, and just because Brady is good, don't mean you can just slide him in there and end up having the same outcome. And I'm not saying that's what their expectation was either. But as a coach, like back office, when you have a Hall of Famer who's basically going to, retire, if you want to call it that, it's time to like really scratch the whiteboard at the end of the day. This is just me speaking. And Tom Brady, he can pretty much go anywhere he wants to. And as much as I'm a fan of Tom Brady, I have no expectations of Tom Brady doing what he normally does with another team. I just don't. I hope he's successful with the Buccaneers. But the likelihood of him going and doing all that stuff, I just don't see it. And the fact that they actually had that as a plan B, to me, that was just, as you just said, it was more about, selling tickets. But that's not going to be long term. That's not a long term solution to a problem. And the problem is going to be both of these guys are going to be finished by 2022. Okay, so I just didn't agree with that. And based off of the statistics, that's why they were aiming for him. He could have went to the Lions. He could have went anywhere. It doesn't even make a difference. He's there for moral support, put up some numbers, get a check, and then it's going to be over. That's guess what? If the Buccaneers win the Super Bowl, I'm gonna put my 12-inch Nike in my mouth. But I just don't see it happening. I'm sorry.
So all I'm gonna just say is right now, yeah, man. Cliff has seen the light. Cliff has seen the glory, man. Wasn't that some shit I was saying not even 3 months ago? That shit I was saying not even 3 months ago? That when we were talking about Tom Brady going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, like it was like, okay, so yeah, they dropped a whole lot of money on an aging ass quarterback. I don't know how successful they're gonna be. And then we had people in the chat room talking about, so what you mean? Are you talking down on Tom Brady? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers is a Super Bowl contender, yada yada yada.
I did not say that.
I didn't say you.
Oh.
So there were folks in the chat room talking about this, right? But you weren't exactly on my plane either, though. You wasn't really riding, like you thought I was just hating. You was talking about like, nah, you thought I was just hating. And now here's Clip, like, yo, man, I ain't really expecting this nigga to produce like he was when he was with the New England Patriots. Like,
but it's really, but I'm not aiming this directly at Tom. This is not all on Tom. He was in a system. He had a coach. The best coach of all time, if you ask me. He had players around him that play with him, that know him. He just went to a whole nother country. So that's all I'm saying. He still can give you numbers, but that's not going to equate to what he had over there. That's what I'm saying. Some is Brady, more of it is the team. Okay? So my focus is not primarily on Brady. Like everybody was focusing on Brady. It's like, no, Brady still can do his thing, but he's somewhere else.
What did I say though? I was like, truthfully, I as much as I'm not a Brady fan, right? And he went to Michigan, which is like hurts me though, right? As much as I'm not, because like I don't like the team that he played for. I'm just something about it. He played for New England, bro. He played for New England, and my Panthers took an L to New England on some bullshit behind the team that he was playing for. So I ain't been a fan of like Tom Brady since. But when I was talking about Tom Brady going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers earlier in this year, I want to say earlier this year or something like that, when the signing happened, and I was telling people, man, like a lot of the success, we're gonna see how great of a quarterback Tom Brady really is outside of the system that Bill Belichick had Tom Brady playing within, right? And so with Tom Brady being separated from that, and with Bill Belichick not having Tom Brady to execute on the system that they had, we're going to see who really was like the greatest of all time, whether it be greatest coach of all time, whether it be greatest quarterback of all time, because now we don't put the two guys together. We're going to see who is more. I know
That ain't how it works. That ain't how it works. But go ahead.
Whatever. That's how you feel about it. I'm saying to
Mm-hmm.
me, I said at the time, I'm like, yo, man, Tom Brady was probably like the product of a really good fucking system that fit the way that Tom Brady likes to play football. And
Execution, though.
Okay, whatever. It'll be interesting to see how he does that, not having the same system. So while he's in Tampa Bay, and you don't even have the same expectations of Tom Brady going to Tampa Bay. So it's just going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how well the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be, or how good they're going to be. We had some people in our chat room talking about the Buccaneers being an NFC Championship contender based on the fact that Tom Brady was the quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm like, pump your brakes. So, like the fact
you're saying two different things, man.
No, I'm not.
To me,
no, I'm not. But
yes, you are.
Back to the whole thing of like Tom Brady possibly being a choice for the New England, like not New England, but the New Orleans Saints. Like, yeah, I could see them entertaining the idea only because, again, cynically, like, yeah, it'll put butts in the seats, man. Like, you can't lose a franchise guy like a Drew Brees, and then like you throw, some unknown, unproven guy in there and expect like the enthusiasm to be the same. I think that if the New Orleans Saints had Tom Brady coming in, fuck you. If the New Orleans Saints had somebody like Tom Brady coming in to replace a Drew Brees, it'll keep the enthusiasm for Who Dat Nation with the Saints. Because for a long time, I mean, we're old enough to remember when the Saints was the Aints. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't a popular thing to be a Saints fan. So, like, I think that was more so like a cynical move or a cynical thought. Like, hey, man, if nothing else, we can keep butts in the seats. But even now, ain't no butts in the seats because of COVID. So you got that going on, man. You got that.
Yeah. All right, man. We ain't got to talk about this for a half an hour.
No, we not talk about this for a half an hour.
What you got, man?
We got something to talk about, man. So, we could talk about some shit we actually talked about last week. We're gonna come back to the football a little bit later, but we got some basketball here, and we had a nice robust discussion about
I like that term.
Robust discussion about Steve Nash, right? We talked about Steve Nash and whether or not Steve Nash's hiring with the Brooklyn Nets was a result of white privilege, as Stephen A. Smith put it. Well, apparently Steve Nash actually agrees with Stephen A. Smith and said he admits to benefiting from white privilege and said he skipped the line to get the head coaching job with the fucking Brooklyn Nets.
Negro, please.
I don't believe it. But
I mean, out of look, when you're in the belly of the beast, okay. I mean, come on, man. And the beast tells you, okay. I mean, look, they're giving it to you on a silver platter. I don't understand. I don't get it.
Well,
Steve understands. Here's the thing. I respect the fact that he even came out and said, you know what, this did have a play. It could have been that big. It could have been this big. Okay. But just know it was a play. Just know it was a play.
Can I read the story?
It was.
Can I get to the
By
story?
all means. By all means.
Get the stories. Okay. So it says Steve Nash admitted, and this is coming from CNN.com. It says that Steve Nash admitted to benefiting from white privilege, saying he did skip the line to become an NBA head coach and acknowledged criticisms from analysts in the process. Nash, the new head coach of the Brooklyn Nets, addressed the issue head on during his virtual introductory news conference on Wednesday. I have benefited from white privilege, he said. I think as white people, we have to understand that we have a certain privilege and a benefit of the color of our skin in our communities. We have a long way to go to find equality in social and racial justice. I hope that I'm a great ally in that cause. He continued. We do need more diversity and more opportunities for African-American coaches on staff in all capacities. The league was built through African-American players, and stars have made this one of the greatest entertainment industries and businesses in sports in the world. Last week, the Nets announced the hiring of Nash, 46, to a 4-year contract as the team's new head coach. The announcement was met with some criticism, given his lack of head coaching experience and the relative dearth of minority NBA head coaches, only 5 in a league made up predominantly of black players. ESPN analyst Stephen A. Smith calls Nash's hiring white privilege. Though Nash recognized his privilege and told reporters he wants to be part of the change moving forward, he also acknowledged his own experience as a player for decades in the NBA. I think leading an NBA team as a point guard for almost 2 decades is pretty unique, he said. So while I haven't necessarily learned some of the skills that I'll definitely seek to understand and learn as far as the technical aspects of coaching, I was never far from that. Nash is taking over the head coaching job from Kenny Atkinson. Nash retired from the NBA as a player in 2015 after 18 seasons in the league, primarily with the Phoenix Suns. Nash, a two-time MVP, is largely regarded as one of the NBA's best NBA point guards of all time. So, yeah, you've already kind of like leaned into this idea that like it only takes a little bit, like it was a little bit of privilege, but I'm gonna tell you this right now. After reading that statement, didn't sound like Steve Nash was saying this particular thing right here was white privilege. Steve Nash talked around what this was. He talked in generalities when it came to what he considered white privilege, right? And we can go back to the whole thing of how many black players who had come up in the NBA as NBA coaches who hadn't had any prior, NBA coaching experience. We ran that to the ground last show. But here's the thing. It goes to the flip side of the other thing that Stephen A. Smith was talking about last week. Remember last week when we were talking about this, Stephen A. Smith was tripping over himself to talk about how great a guy Steve Nash was, right? Mm-hmm. Like how much Steve Nash looked out for other players in the NBA, like how he has, he allowed for Quentin Richardson to get paid. Like he took less money so that Quentin Richardson could get paid, or that like Steven Jackson was once living with Steve Nash because of some circumstances that I don't really fucking know about. But like he's bringing up all these different examples to show how great a guy Steve Nash was and how much it hurt him to say that Steve Nash was benefiting from white privilege, yada, 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 yada. Steve Nash right now in this moment is exhibiting that same level of being a great guy that Stephen A. Smith was saying that he was, right? Yeah, I have benefited from white privilege. But in this particular instance, I don't think Steve Nash said anything at all about benefiting from white privilege in order to be an NBA head coach. I don't think he said it all.
He said it in his first sentence, but go ahead.
Let me go back and read this again.
I'll read it for you. Steve Nash admitted to benefiting from white privilege, saying he did skip the line to become an NBA head coach. Go ahead.
That's the headline. That's not what he said. His quote is, I have benefited from white privilege. I think as white people, we have to understand we have a certain privilege and a benefit by the color of our skin in our communities. We have a long way to go to find equality in social and racial justice. I hope I'm a great ally in that cause. That was his quote. He didn't say he was benefiting from white privilege to become a head coach. That was his quote. That was the headline that you read.
I didn't read the headline. I'm reading the same article that you're reading right now.
And what does the headline say? Steve Nash benefited.
I'm not reading the headline.
Okay, man. Okay.
What?
Okay.
We're having issues with your dialect today. Is it the drink? I mean, what's going on?
We're not having issues with shit. You read the headline and you equated that to being a quote. That wasn't what he was quoted as saying. And I just read you his fucking quote and you just said that was his quote. So go ahead and read the quote, Cliff. Read the quote in its entirety.
He skipped the line. He skipped the line.
Where does it say that in the article, Cliff?
CNN.com dash. I'm not reading the quote. I'm just starting from the top.
Right. The fucking headline, like I just said.
I'm not reading the headline. I'm starting from the first paragraph and I'm going down. I understand what you're saying. Bro. If you want to constantly focus on the fact that Stephen A. Smith talks about Steve Nash character, that's a great thing. We can talk about evil people historically who had great character but did bad things to people. Okay, to me. Okay, and of course I love opinions. This is about one thing. He got an opportunity because of the color of his skin, and he was able to bypass other possibly qualified coaches, and he was able to do that because of the color of his skin. That's the bottom line. I don't care. And if you want to dig into that, to me, it's kind of irrelevant. But to me, I don't care what job you have. You have to be qualified to go to management or to be somewhere on the top level. So, he skipped that, man.
So the point that this goes back to the shit that we were talking about last week, though, Cliff. How qualified was Magic Johnson to be the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers?
I'm not disagreeing. That's rare. Okay, it does not happen a lot. It is a minority of black coaches in the league.
In the NBA, it's not a rare occurrence, man. It's not a rare.
Oh my God!
It's not.
You are talking about very few, man, compared to the overall picture. And you know what's crazy? What's funny is I wouldn't expect you to even have the stance that you have. I would really, and of course, whatever. But the fact that Steve Nash can even make a statement like he did, to me, it's like, yo, I get it. I do get it.
I think what Steve Nash was saying, that white privilege is exactly like it's a thing. Like Steve Nash acknowledges that white privilege is a thing. I don't think, and I think the headline is misleading, and I think the headline will lead one to believe. Like, okay. I think the
headline. You talk about his quote. He said, "I have benefited from white privilege." Right. That's his quote. What do you think that has to do with? What do you think that has to do with?
Hold on. Listen to what I'm saying, dude. White people, a white person acknowledging that, yes, me being a white person, I've experienced white privilege. I've been a recipient of white privilege. That does not mean that in this particular instance that white is the reason why Steve Nash got this job. I'm gonna tell you the reason why Steve Nash got this job. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving signed off on wanting Steve Nash as their fucking head coach.
Sure.
That's why he has the job. So when we talk about the NBA and black coaches coming up with no coaching experience, and I ask you a question about whether or not Magic Johnson was fucking qualified, and you have no real answer for me. You don't.
I do. He was he qualified? No. But we're talking. But you're trying to compare. Okay. Here's my interpretation. Okay. And I just want to speak on something before. Steve Nash would not have quoted, as you want to like really focus on, the fact that he has benefited from white privilege if it had nothing to do with the fact that he got a job because he's white. He would have never said that ever. A. B. Yes, Magic Johnson, was he qualified? Hell no.
He said it. The reason why he said it is because people were talking about it, and Stephen A. Smith brought it up as the reason why he got the job. If Stephen A. Smith doesn't say that the reason why Steve Nash has his job, white privilege doesn't even come up in that press conference.
Bull.
Dead ass.
Bull. Stephen A. is the one who has the balls to say it. That's all.
Stephen A. Smith will say whatever the fuck it is to get people talking, which is what got us right here talking now. Like, truthfully speaking, like a lot of times Stephen A. Smith will just say shit to get people talking. Like as much as I'm on this shit, right? As much as I'm on this shit,
yes.
For me to be sitting here saying like, yeah, I don't think that's what this is, should give you pause, because I'm not sitting up here talking about. As much as I don't give a whole lot of white folks a lot of leeway and a lot of shit, bro. You know this about me. You know this about me. So for me to be sitting here saying like, yeah, I don't think that's what this is. I thought about this, man. The only reason why Steve Nash even acknowledged that white privilege is a thing in this particular instance is because this is what people were talking about, and Stephen A. Smith pushed that ball forward. If Stephen A. Smith doesn't go on ESPN and say, I think that the hiring of Steve Nash is because of white privilege, that this topic doesn't even fucking come up.
Okay. How about this? I agree with that. And here's the thing. Does this happen every day? Yes. Do a lot of people actually who have a platform speak on it? No, they don't. So I actually give Stephen A. and me and you agree that Stephen A. be talking out the side of his neck a lot, right? I give him more props because sometimes it takes somebody who has a platform like Stephen A. to actually say exactly what a lot of people are thinking. I don't care if Kevin Durant, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and whoever else signed off of Steve Nash getting the job. That makes no sense. You know what makes the difference to me? That makes the thing that makes that separates the men from the boys, is the person who actually has the gumption to say the things that will spark conversation. And with what's going on in the times now, and I'm not saying that Steve Nash probably doesn't deserve it. I'm saying that Stephen A. Smith has a point. And yes, does Magic Johnson did he deserve to be a head coach? Hell no. I think Magic Johnson needs to go finish and learn how to speak. Okay. But at the end of the day, it is a huge ratio of difference between black coaches, black players. And when you talk about the league that is actually, it is made up of brown people, but you have very few of us in the higher seats. Yes, that is where you can start to say, well, okay, Steve Nash got this job because he is a privileged person because of the color of skin. That's all. And the thing is, you have a lot of points, and I dig all those points, but just know that because Stephen A. Smith was really trying to set a stage that no, Steve Nash is a good person. Steven Jackson and Quentin and all that. I get all that. But the thing is, at the end of the day, this is a business. What you do personally is irrelevant. And that's the way that's the same approach I would have taken.
Yeah,
I definitely would have.
Okay, so that's the approach you would have taken. That doesn't necessarily mean that's the approach that these teams are taking.
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
Here's the part. Here's the issue that I have with like this notion that Steve Nash at this particular junction got this job on some white privilege shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is really what the crux of why I don't necessarily agree with this, in that there are so many instances of real racism, like real instances of people being disadvantaged and everything else. So
yes.
When we do this for instances like when we do it for something like this, I think it kind of it kind of like deflates like real instances. So if you point to Steve Nash, a guy who has a great reputation amongst the league, who has a great reputation amongst NBA players, who is acknowledged, he's a 2-time MVP, although I think he only should have one MVP. Kobe should have got the other one. But not just being a
I get it. I agree.
Kobe got that other one. But if you got an all-time NBA point guard coming into the NBA as a coach for a team, like if this is going to be a guy that if you're going to pick a guy from straight playing to becoming a coach, you pick a guy like this, whether he's white or black. You pick a guy like this, a guy who is an all-time great, a guy who was an MVP in this league, a guy who has great relationships with the players in this league. This is a guy that you would pick. And so for the fact that like Stephen A. Smith to just say, yeah, this is just white privilege, is like, it's more than that. And so to just limit and to just like minimize his hiring, the fact that like, yo, he got this job because he was white, is like, nah, bro, it's so much more than that. And that's why I go back to the whole thing of, yo, Kevin Durant signed off on this signing. Kyrie Irving signed off on this signing. They have great relationships with this dude. It has more to do with the fact that they like this guy as opposed to just him. Oh, this is just because he's white. No, it ain't that. And to reduce it to just that minimizes all the other cases of real life motherfucking racism that's going on. So that's my problem with this, man. To minimize that's my problem. And that's why Stephen A. Smith was out of line.
Now, I first of all, I definitely agree. We can be talking about other more serious racial conflicts within our community. I definitely get it. But when it comes down to racial inequality, there will always be different levels. There will always be different conversations. And one thing that will always remain is you're going to have a lot of people's opinions, like me and you. I really understand just, and I'm saying from a high level, I'm not really getting into the weeds as far as why and how he got the job. I'm just saying from the outside looking in, I can understand Stephen A's point. That's it. And I don't want to, and no different than Stephen A, I don't want to take anything from Steve Nash. I was a huge Steve Nash fan. And I totally agree with you. Kobe should have got that MVP that second time. But just because the air is so thick, now, right? And not to say this is going to dissipate faster than it. We'll probably never have this conversation again. You see what I'm saying? But it will definitely, because of the times right now. Everything is just so easy. The fuse is so small. You see what I'm saying? So it's so easy to bring up. And I don't, not to cut you off, but I totally agree with you when you say with everything else, this is what we're talking about. You know what I'm saying?
And this is the reason why I think that, like, I think it was irresponsible for Stephen A. Smith to do this now. You know what I'm saying? Because because of all of the shit that's going on now, like, I think to invoke white privilege in this particular instance, well, I think Steve Nash, again, when we talk about like players who become coaches, you want the great players, or at least you think the great players are the ones who become great coaches. That doesn't always necessarily pan out. Isaiah Thomas isn't necessarily, he was a mediocre coach when he was like when he was an NBA coach. Ty Lue won an NBA championship. He was like, a bench player, like, for the most part.
The step over. Go ahead.
Good NBA coach. I'm just saying, like, good NBA coach.
Right.
And there's a sense that, like, you had guys like Ty Lue out here who are still looking for jobs and stuff like that, and they should have had this opportunity. And I get that, but there were those sorts of jobs. Like, and the reason why I keep bringing up guys like Magic and Isaiah and Doc Rivers, those jobs were available back then too, when those guys got their opportunity. And so I think it's irresponsible for Stephen A. Smith to be like, yo, this white privilege, and just like throwing that log on the fucking fire. Is like, y'all, man, this might not be it. This might not be the fucking fire that you want to start, because we got so many different instances of it being, we got at least 5 that I can count that went the other way. And so I know institutionally, like, overwhelmingly, there have been white coaches in the NBA. We know that. We also know that the NBA was one of the few leagues that had player coaches, where Tree Rollins was coaching and being a fucking player at the same time with the Orlando Magic, where Bill Russell was a fucking player coach back in the 60s. So, like, I just think that, like, him throwing that out there minimizes, like, that Steve Nash could possibly be a good coach, and only like minimizing it to, like, yo, he only got the job because he was white, totally negating the relationship that Steve Nash has cultivated in that NBA with the NBA players, totally, like, negating the fact that Steve Nash was a great NBA player, and reducing this to just because that Steve Nash was white. I just kind of feel like that was irresponsible, especially considering the times that we're in right now.
Yeah, I mean, and just to branch off of your statement, because of the times, it's just really easy, right?
It's easy.
I agree, it can be very easy to be on either side of the railroad tracks. You see what I'm saying? And I hope Steve does great. Let me say that up front. But on the same note, I do believe that he just has a point because the way it looks. That's all. I'm not saying the validity of his statement holds like all the weight in the world, but just the way it looks. And because right now in this time, the way things look matter more than anything else. It can look like a little bit of racism. They can be like, oh my God, So I can understand where he's coming from. And you say you disagree with it was not the right time. This is the time where you do say stuff like that. And because people, and here's the thing, I'm not saying Stephen A. is right or wrong, or his time was good or bad, but because of the times, and if something has a smidgen of it, and he has the platform, he is the type of person who will spark these conversations and make it and I'm gonna say this, and make it an issue, right? And make it an issue.
I hear you, bro. I don't know if I agree, only because, like I said, because of, like, the sensitive times that we are living in, like, where you got some ambiguous shit where, like, you're speculating pretty much. Like, I don't know if it's a good idea to just, like, throw some speculative shit out there because of how hot it is socially, like socio-politically or whatever else. I don't know how responsible that is to just throw a hypothetical out there as a result of somebody getting a job that you thought somebody else maybe was qualified to get. And not that, like the NBA, like postseason is still going on. It's not as if other jobs won't become available and there won't be other opportunities. That's the other part about this.
Right.
When we
Right.
talk about like the leagues that are a little bit more forward thinking with how they operate, the NBA is one of the preeminent leagues that anybody thinks about, right? Like we talk
Sure.
about, like the NFL, how like as much as there are black players in the NFL, how little of them get opportunities to be head coaches and shit, right? Like in the NBA, you've got coaches in the pipeline. Like you've got coaches who won championships in the pipeline. Like these guys are in waiting for like jobs to open up. So the fact that this one guy gets a job doesn't mean that like the Houston Rockets job just became an open opportunity for somebody. Who's to say that Ty Lue doesn't get that job? Who's to say that Miller doesn't get that job? Like so, like I'm saying, like the NBA is as forward thinking as the NBA has been. Like to say that, like, oh, Steve Nash getting his job with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, that's white privilege. I just don't know how responsible that is, man.
I hear you. I hear you, man.
So yeah, that's shit going on, man.
I just got a real quick something. I know we was talking earlier. I saw an article the other day on sportsnews.com. All right. And they were talking about LeBron James playoff statistics compared to the other playoff greats.
Okay.
And they put him side by side, and they specifically put him side by side with Michael Jordan because Michael Jordan.
Why do they keep doing that?
I don't know, but this and the thing is, and I'm gonna tell you why. In here, I'm not gonna read this whole thing, but because I'm gonna go straight to the stats. The reason why we put LeBron next to Michael Jordan because every time Michael Jordan won a championship, he never went to a Game 7. He's the only player in history to have 6 rings and never go to a Game 7. That's the GOAT, greatest of all time. So I'm gonna just go down here. I don't want to read all this because I have a couple points I want to hit on. So in the playoffs specifically, not regular season, in the playoffs, Michael averaged 33.4, LeBron 28.9. This is year to date as well. Rebounds, Mike had 6.4, LeBron 8. Assists, Mike had 5, LeBron 7. Steals, Mike had 2, LeBron 2, LeBron 1 block, Mike had a little less. But what really stands out is that LeBron now has the highest. He has won more playoff games than anybody else in history. All right, he has 239, and he has 6,911 points also. And the one thing that stuck out to me was LeBron's turnovers. Yo, LeBron be turning the ball over. Okay, Mike only had 500 turnovers. Okay, LeBron has 866. I'm like, whoa! So I did not. Go ahead.
One caveat, like I kind of wonder how much that has to do with the fact that, like, Scottie Pippen is considered the first point forward. How much that has to do? How much that has to do with the fact that Scottie Pippen was like supposedly handling the ball more to initiate the offense, and like LeBron, like he's considered like an evolution of that, so to speak. Like
right.
Consistently in LeBron's hands in much more ways than like it was in Mike's, because Mike wasn't necessarily initiating the offense; he was more so a finisher of the offense. So I wonder how much that has to play into what how that calculates.
Yeah, I agree, but this is not to knock LeBron, but what really let me go down to this paragraph too. This is an interesting read. Where's that? It says the playoff statistic mirror what Jordan and James produced during the regular season, despite James' increased usage and efficiency beyond the arc because Mike shot the ball more. He had more 2-point threes. Of course, of his career, it's worth noting he shoots the same percentage as Jordan from the 3-point line. LeBron, and I think you kind of just said something I was about to lean into. LeBron is kind of like he can play any position, so his likelihood of actually having more downside would be higher than Mike. Because Mike did not do certain things on the court that LeBron does a whole lot of. He
wasn't asked to do those things. Like there was a time when Mike played point, and like
Yeah.
I saw an article about Mike playing point. They ran an experiment with Mike playing point, and the numbers are kind of ridiculous. Like while you reading that, I'm gonna look that up. Like, but the numbers are kind of ridiculous, man.
Hold on. It's funny you just said that. It says Jordan is superior in the scoring department, but James grabs more rebounds and dishes out assists at a higher rate. While both players are known for tenacious defense on the wing, Jordan finished first in the league in steals 3 times in his career. James has not yet claimed a steals title. I know, and I hate that people always want to compare Mike and LeBron, and I don't care what LeBron does. It's just maybe because we are definitely Mike fans until we go 6 feet under. It's just not a conversation to be had. I just like to state that the fact that LeBron is still healthy and he's still putting up these numbers, he's doing things that are unheard of compared. And I'm not just going to say Michael Jordan because they compared some of LeBron's numbers to Magic Johnson. Magic didn't get into the playoffs that much because, of course, his career was cut, right? And then they put him next to Bird, but the numbers really showed more value next to Mike. LeBron, I mean, 17 years, and he's just doing stuff. And I'm a LeBron fan. He's doing stuff that is just unreal. And to look to see how you can to look at the numbers, because that's all I really care about is the numbers. What he does constantly. I mean, what is it? He was in like the championship. He was in the championship for 8 years in a row? Something crazy. It's amazing to see, because I always thought that nobody would ever be able to exceed anything Michael Jordan ever did, or even be able to compete. And LeBron, he competes on a level where you can say, you know what, if I was to pick somebody next to Mike, it's LeBron. Period.
Yeah, I got LeBron 1A behind Mike. LeBron James is the greatest player of his generation, bar none. He's the greatest player since Michael Jordan to grace the NBA court. Like I just put it like that. And I know a lot of LeBron fans get annoyed with that, but that's just where I'm at with it. I know y'all get tired of the 6, we talk about championships and shit, but that counts for something, man. You can't even the stat with LeBron James having the all-time winningest record in the NBA playoffs. But he's won 3 titles though. That means something, man. To me, that means something. So it's not to diminish LeBron's game. I think LeBron James is a fucking all-time great. We'll go down as one of the greatest of all fucking time. That's not that's not to slight anybody. Think about this for a second. Yo, man, you don't call my guy a great. You slouching him though. Son, I've seen better. To me, I've seen better.
Yes.
I've seen better finishers. I've seen guys who win at a more efficient level. I've seen guys produce at a greater clip. I've seen this with my own eyes. Now, this right now, I know sometimes, and I talked about this on the Span Report yesterday. Sometimes we can become a prisoner of the now. But the thing that we see right now is the greatest thing we've ever seen ever in life.
You know what? That's a great thing you just said. The last small paragraph right here, and it says, and here's the big one Jordan fans have championships in their back pockets. MJ went perfect 6-0 in the NBA Finals, never needed a Game 7 to win those series. James has gone 3-6 in the finals appearances, but also controlled the Eastern Conference with the Cavaliers and Heat for almost a decade. Here's the thing. What LeBron did for an entire decade, I mean, to me, and I know we talked about this before, when Mike retired, my desire to watch the NBA kind of diminished. I'm not even gonna lie, it did. But when LeBron started to do his thing, I'm just going to say do his thing, I was actually interested almost at an equal rate when Mike was playing. No bull.
I was put on notice with LeBron, and I always wanted to root for LeBron because I remember before LeBron was an NBA player and hearing the buzz about LeBron, folks were talking about LeBron being ready to play NBA basketball his junior year of high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember when LeBron came into the league, his first NBA game ever was against the Sacramento Kings. I wanted so bad for LeBron to be good because of the amount of hype that was placed upon LeBron James' shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted that for him because we had seen quite a few. Like at a certain point, we were starting to see high school players become more of a common thing coming into the NBA. And so, like with all of these NBA players coming in from high school, and then to hear that this guy was like he's ready his junior year of high school, like man, I just hope that he's able to produce in a way in which people won't be on his back as much because, like, yo, the hype around him was so great. And so for LeBron James to produce in the ways in which LeBron James has been able to produce is fucking phenomenal. Considering all of the hype that LeBron James came into the NBA with, he has in some ways exceeded some of the expectations that were placed upon his shoulders. I am forever a fan of LeBron James because of that. Because like that's the other thing. Like when you think that, like, say for instance, if you're a Michael Jordan fan, people tend to believe that like you can't like LeBron James. I'm not in that camp. I love LeBron James' game. Like I think LeBron James is all-time fucking great. I just don't think he's greater than Mike. For me, right? It's not a slight to him. But like, remember when he was a high school player, he came into the NBA and there was so much hype around LeBron James. I'm like, man, I hope the boy is able to produce. They're gonna roast his ass if he can't. And this is all because they placed all this pressure upon him to be the next thing, and he became the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
He became the next thing, and he's been great. For, like, let's see, he came into the league in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
17 years later, LeBron James is considered still one of the top 3 players in the NBA. Amazing feat. Just dispatched to the Houston Rockets just the other day. He's going into a Western Conference Finals now. The first time he's been in the Western Conference, but another conference finals for LeBron James. Like greatness, no doubt. But still,
Well, just before we go to the next, I was gonna just say this too. You said that all the hype around LeBron when he was in high school. Remember when Kwame Brown? They said he was about to be the next. Y'all.
I don't. Here's the thing. With Kwame Brown, Mike fucked up on that one. Mike fucked up because, like, I don't remember no hype around Kwame Brown. I remember when Kwame Brown got drafted. I'm like, for real? Like, he was the first high school player to go number 1, right? I'm trying to figure out which draft that was. It might have been like the draft of because this is before LeBron. We were still in college. I want to say like 2001 was when Kwame Brown got drafted. We were still at TSU.
Right. Agreed. Yeah.
And LeBron came out in 2003. So like Kwame Brown was the first high school player to be drafted number 1 overall. And I can remember this like
That's not true. That's not true.
Who was the first high school player to get drafted number 1 overall?
KG, baby.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was. He was drafted as number 1 pick in 1995, straight out of high school.
Cliff?
No? Am I not looking at this right?
You're not looking at that right.
Okay.
KG was not the number 1 pick of that draft. KG,
round 1. Oh, yeah, you're right.
KG was number 5, bro.
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Yep.
Still got $100 million.
He still got $100 million. Hey, KG was the first one to break the bank. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man,
he wasn't the first one to get drafted number 1 straight out of high school, but he was the first one to break the bank. But no, man, I've always rooted for LeBron James, man. I think LeBron James is great this year. I'm not necessarily rooting for him to win the chip this year. I kind of want the Clippers to win. And they just went. They just lost to Denver today. They go into a game 7. So that's the thing.
I'm getting excited.
That's the thing, man. But
oh my God.
Yeah.
All right, man. All right. What? Damn, we've been doing this an hour. Oh my God. There's some good conversation.
We got some more shit, man. We got some more shit. While we talking basketball, though, we were talking about how good the NBA has been, like, to contain, like the bubble, so to speak, man. Like we talked a little bit about how Lou Williams is out here, wilding out, going to fucking Magic City and whatever else, man. But another player has been kicked out of the bubble. As a matter of fact, he got kicked out of the bubble before his team got kicked out of the bubble by the fucking Los Angeles Lakers. But we got a player from the Houston Rockets. Daniel House got kicked out for inviting one of the COVID-19 technicians into his goddamn hotel room. So I get the story. This comes from Click 2 Houston. It says Rockets forward Daniel House is out for the rest of the NBA season. He only missed the game really much. After a league investigation found he violated health and safety protocols, House will leave the bubble. According to the NBA, House had an unauthorized guest in his hotel room on September 8th. House missed games 3 and 4 due to personal reasons. So Cliff, man,
Okay.
He ain't the first one. He ain't the first one. Like, so remember, like the NFL, like there was a player, it might have been the Seahawks. It was an NFL player that invited his girlfriend to come visit him at the hotel, and he had her like dress up in like Seahawks gear and pretend to be a part of the organization to come visit him. Like, hey man, as we started the show with Wet Ass Pussy, like 80s remix, these niggas are giving up their opportunities to play professional ball for the wet ass pussy, man. Like, what's going on?
Here's what's funny. So when we was talking about earlier, here's what I like. I pulled up on another article on clutchpoints.com. Check this out. It says she passed multiple security checkpoints before being flagged, and she left the hotel early Tuesday morning. You know what time it is. Ain't nobody going over and taking no nose swabs overnight.
Are you talking NFL or NBA?
Daniel House.
Wait. So, as I understand it, the reason why Daniel House is out of the NBA bubble, well, the Rockets are as in the team right now, but the woman who he invited into his room was actually one of the people who test for COVID-19.
Yes.
The reason why she was already allowed into the bubble anyway was because she was a technician.
Okay, that's my point. So she's supposed to come in, hit you with the, you know what I'm saying, and leave. She left the next morning. She came there.
I didn't know that.
So that's what I'm saying. Let me read this.
I thought that she reported the nigga for inviting her into the room.
Let me read this. It says sources. She passed multiple security checkpoints before being flagged for her entry. She exited the hotel Tuesday, hours later, Tuesday morning, and the league cited early data points that implicated two members of the Rockets, which is House and Tyson Chandler. When the woman was questioned by the NBA security, she did not implicate House's name, and it was uncertain whether she remains on campus. Sources said she claimed to have contact. Huh?
You know what's funny? Tyson Chandler's name ain't been nowhere near this shit, man.
No, listen. And then it says this. It says she claimed to have contact with Chandler and another player, not naming House, according to sources. The Rockets' entire team had to enter a quarantine period on Tuesday due to potential exposure. The sources said there appears no video connecting House and the woman, only the flagging of her entering and leaving the hotel and possibly of a door opening and closing to match those timelines. House has denied that he engaged any improper contact with the staffer.
Hey, House was at the at the door and shit when she came up to the door like to test him or whatever. Check it out. Here you go.
Ever had your pussy embraced? I mean, if someone like really came up with this, embrace that motherfucker.
Oh man!
But you know what I think, and I don't mean to be mean, but Tyson Chandler got some. He got clout. He was like, "Yo, keep a name out your mouth." You know what I'm saying? And she dropped his name, and they still got rid of dude. That's bogus.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Annette in the chat room. She said hello to everybody, man. But,
what's up, Annette? Appreciate the shout out.
That's crazy, man. I thought that was crazy, man. These dudes are giving up that opportunity, man. They giving it up, like yo, I can't keep choking the chicken, baby. I gotta have some. Gotta have some of that, man. Like these niggas is out here wild. So so I kind of alluded to this earlier and we talked about this a little bit with some of the listener feedback, and I'm getting an echo. Can you hear that?
Nope.
Okay, you don't hear it, but I'm getting an echo. But well, we talked a little bit about this earlier with the listener feedback when we were talking about the political sort of thing that's been going on with the NFL and like the viewership and stuff, because NFL viewership apparently has been down, or it was down for that initial game Thursday night between the Kansas City Chiefs and the the Houston Texans, right? So we're gonna talk a little bit about that, man, because I kind of want to get into a little bit of this where how much of the social justice aspect is actually affecting whether or not people are watching the sports or not, right? And so we get the story here first. The first part of this, we're going to get the story from yahoo.com. And they talked about the initial results show a decline for the KC Houston game, Houston kickoff game. It says the initial wave of NFL ratings for Thursday night season kickoff have arrived, and the preliminary numbers are down for the NFL. However, the event was the most watched sporting event since the Super Bowl. And only the second show since the Super Bowl to exceed 20 million viewers. So keep in mind, like, as much as people are talking about the NFL's ratings being down, like, of all of TV, this is only the second show this year to have 20 million plus viewers of all of the shit that's on TV right now. It says, according to Deadline, the Kansas City Houston game initially rated 5.2 among adults 18 to 49. That's the other part about this. I always wonder, how the fuck do they measure that? Like, when you turn your TV on, how do they know whether or not your TV is an 18 to 49-year-old? Like, who's watching it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, they can. It's ways, but that ain't got nothing to do with the point.
Yeah. It says the key demographic, the key demographic for advertisers, and boasted a preliminary total of 16.4 million viewers. At the moment, ratings are adjusted upwards as more reports roll in. That's a 16.1% drop from last year's kickoff between the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears. As more numbers came in Friday afternoon, NBC reported a total audience of 20.3 million viewers, down from last year's 22 million in the same time slot. Overall, the game averaged a nationwide rating of 11.2 over 23, down from last year's 12.8 over 26. So I'm gonna ask you though, Cliff, like, do you believe that, because of the social justice aspect, like the NFL embracing some of the social justice aspect in the presenting of the opening of the season, had anything to do with the reason why the ratings for that opening game of the season lost like maybe 1.5 million viewers?
Nah, honestly, I mean, just think about how anxious we've been to get back on and talk about sports. People want to see a game. That's all. I mean, it's. I mean, the thing is, I don't care what side of the line you're on, whether or not you're with Trump or if you're with Black Lives Matter, whatever the case may be. People want to see this regularity of entertainment again. That's all. I mean, you're gonna have some people who are gonna be like, forget. I'm not gonna support the NFL because they're gonna have a moment of silence for George Floyd or whatever the case may be. Guess what? Just like when what was that, maybe 2 years ago, when black folks said they wasn't gonna watch the NFL anymore, where they said they was gonna protest against that. That didn't happen. You know what I'm saying? Ratings was the same. Whatever. I don't. That type of thing to me, man, is a whole bunch of blowing smoke. And at the end of the day, I don't care who's playing. I'm anxious to see something. I'm anxious to have something to talk about. And I hate to say it, it's a part of my life. Sports is rooted in my family, and for me to say, well, I'm not going to watch this because of the political stuff that's going on, I can't lie. That's just not going to happen. I'm still going to watch the Bears. I'm still going to watch whoever.
Yeah. It does remind me, and I'm glad you brought that up. It does kind of remind me, like, I remember a couple of years ago when they were talking about the NFL ratings being down. And at the time, this was like at the height of Colin Kaepernick, doing his kneeling protest and everything else. And then more players starting to kneel and whatnot. And on both sides of the aisle, there were people taking credit for the fact that the NFL ratings were down.
Right.
Black people telling you that the ratings was down because we ain't watching that shit no more. And white folks is telling you that the ratings was down because we ain't watching that shit no more because, you know, everybody was taking credit for the fact that the NFL ratings were down, right? It kind of gives me like that vibe. Like everybody's taking credit, nobody really knows why, so to speak. And the truth of the matter is, I think there's much more to do with the reason why the NFL's ratings may have been down this season as opposed to what it could have been. For one, there was no NFL preseason. There was no build-up, really. The NFL coming back. Like, you didn't watch preseason football to see whether or not your team had any shot, like, to see guys get cut from NFL teams, to see, like, people just, like, the NFL, like, boom, there's NFL football on TV. And I think that might have had a lot to do, that could have had something to do with the fact that, the opening game was like it saw lower ratings because people just like, oh, we really doing this, right? And then the aspect too, yo, we really are doing NFL football in the pandemic, right? Like even like with the Lions, like the Lions are doing this thing where like they're not having any people, you know, anybody in the crowd, but they're allowing you to buy a cardboard cutout so that you could place it forward field. And yo, check this out, man. They actually have the audacity to charge extra if your cardboard cutout was sitting next to a cardboard cutout of a Barry Sanders, bro. Like, like they actually were doing this shit, right? And so some teams are allowing fans to be at the game. The Kansas City Chiefs allow fans to be at their game. They were booing at their game. That's something in relation to this right now. But I honestly don't necessarily feel like it's a result of the political shit. It's because I think a lot of people are just surprised that football is even really a thing, that we're really doing this. Because I know I am. I'm dead ass surprised that we're even really doing this. The Big Ten, yo, we postponed all our like fall sports, right?
Right.
Football, no basketball. We just gonna say fuck it. We're gonna start over in January or whatever. You know, the NBA, I had reservations about the NBA even attempting to do this. They did an amazing job with like being able to put a product on the court and not have any virus cases or whatever. Baseball, shit, truthfully speaking, I'm surprised at how swimmingly baseball has been going, considering like when we were talking about the Miami Marlins and stuff like that, and the St. Louis Cardinals having coronavirus cases or whatever, they postponed a lot of those fucking games. But like, yo, they're gonna figure out a way around that. And I low key kind of still feel like it's still risky. Like it's especially like as I was like me and my wife were out yesterday, and like we were at a restaurant and they had college football on the televisions at the restaurant. I'm just like, yo, they really playing college football. Like, I'll be damned. Like, we really doing this as if there's not a pandemic going on. And so I think a lot of people are just like surprised, like, yo, we really doing football. And like, then I'm like, get a email alert, like, yo, we doing fantasy football, nigga. You doing a draft or what? Like, yo, we really doing this. Like, NFL football is back. And I think a lot of people are just like, yo, I'm surprised it is back considering all the other shit that's going on. And maybe because of all the shit that's going on, that contributes to why people were not necessarily like in like the mode to watch on a Thursday night, when Sunday is when they prepare to watch any motherfucking way, right? Now, all that being said, which is a lot. I'm not one to limit my exposure to one side of the aisle. Sometimes I'll watch what other motherfuckers are saying just so I can understand how the other side is thinking about certain shit.
Sure.
And so while I was like kind of trying to figure out how to talk about the NFL's ratings decline, so to speak, for one game on week one on a Thursday night. I came across this video on YouTube, and basically they were talking about the conversations that were being had on ESPN about the fans booing the players for locking arms in unity at the beginning of that football game between Houston and Kansas City. And I'm gonna play some of this video, and I kind of feel like I just want to kind of pick it apart, right? You're welcome to pick it apart with me if you want to, but I kind of feel like I just want to pick this shit apart because there's a social disconnect here that I think there's a social disconnect, and I kind of just want to like kind of speak to it. So let me pull this up so like y'all can see right along with us. I was gonna say this for the wing, but fuck it, we doing a regular show, and I can say my wing, and it'll be a traditional 2 minutes. But let me pull this up, man, so y'all can see this, man. Check this video out, man, because I just thought this was real interesting. This is how the other side sees this shit.
It's the fans' fault. That's what so many NFL players are trying to say today. That's what so many people in the mainstream media are trying to say. It's the fans' fault. It's your fault for booing. It's your fault for seeing through the bullshit. It's your fault for calling out the nonsense, fans. It's all your fault. Great job. The ratings are tanking, and now you are absolutely pushing the...
Here's the thing. Already taking credit for the ratings tanking on a Thursday night game that a lot of people probably didn't even know was playing.
I didn't.
Taking
Go
credit
ahead.
for that. Yeah, but keep that in mind.
Remaining fans away as well. Unbelievable. Ryan Clark today, former Pittsburgh Steeler Ryan Clark on First Take, who's now part of ESPN, tried to make the most ridiculous argument I have heard yet. He wants to sit there and continue to act like this is a problem that's being addressed based on equality, everybody. It's all about equality. Well, if it's about equality, Ryan, why don't you want to talk about the fact that twice as many white people have died at the hands of police than black people this year?
Hey, so off top, I'm like, yo, how about why aren't white people talking about the white people that are being killed by police? Why aren't y'all talking about that? Why do you expect this black man to be on ESPN talking about white people being killed by police? Why aren't y'all talking about that? Just saying.
Because you're not trying to talk about the facts, the reality. You're trying to form an incorrect narrative, which is exactly what the NFL players are doing right now, and people are tired of it. People are sick of it. And I love the fact that they're trying to call the people that are NFL fans ist and isms now. The same people that live and breathe for this sport to be played, who love to watch it, who love to watch these players, their favorite player is almost certainly a black person, or one of their favorite players is a black person, but you're claiming that they're racist.
I got black friends, man.
The two highest paid players in the NFL are both black guys, but the fans that make up the league are ist and isms. Absolutely ridiculous. But this is why the NFL can't figure it out. They can't get out of their own way.
Go ahead.
Did he said is and isms? Help me with that one.
Okay, so he says is
I
and ism.
couldn't understand what he said.
So when he says ist, he's saying that like they're calling the fans racist and they're talking about racism. So he just shortens it by saying ist and isms.
Okay.
So they're calling the fans is racist. He don't want to say they're racist, but he's saying that they're calling the fans ist, which is racist, and they're talking about racism. And that's why he's shortening it up. So like that's the other part about like racist. They don't want to actually be called racist, and but damn sure don't really want to talk about and have a real conversation about racism. But like that's what he's doing.
Okay.
And by a bunch of nonsensical millionaires who have no idea what it's like in the real world. They only know what the mainstream continues to teach them to say, and they just repeat those talking points because they are zombies. They are NPCs.
Okay. This is my
can I get some real quick?
Go ahead, because I got some shit. But go ahead.
This is gonna be quick for me. you can't say that they don't know what it's like in the real world, because most of these guys who have made it to the league and making all this money, they came from dirt. Okay, they brothers got beat down by the police. Okay, so you know this video. I mean, if you want to play the rest, completely optional.
Play the whole thing. I'm damn sure not gonna play the whole thing, but like
he's an extremist.
Hold on, we're only 2 minutes into a 9-minute video, and already, like, I can like pick this shit apart. We're not gonna play this entire thing, but he's only 2 minutes into this. It's a 9-minute 45-second video. He's only 2 minutes and 4 seconds into this, and I can like we go ahead, man. Go. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The thing is, I think I said this earlier. You have your people who are the thing is this: you have black and white people who are extremists in their own area of belief. All right. So wherever he comes from and whatever his upbringing was has, of course, a lot to do with the way he's seeing what the players are doing and what the NFL is doing, because he said that in the beginning. The NFL is doing this, that, and the third. You know what, man? These type of conversations that it's almost like he's lacking a lot of information. Like you said, he doesn't want to actually say that he's a racist. He wants to walk around a whole lot of other topics, and actually the foundation of why all this stuff is going on in the first place, why this is a topic of conversation. And you know, I like what you said earlier. You got to hear how they feel so you can kind of understand where they're coming from. Not to say they're wrong or right, but it's like, yo, you're not even. This is so far over there. It's like I don't give my energy.
But here's the thing, though, Cliff, and here's the thing that I think is very important is that, like, while we would consider what he's saying so far over there, I would venture to believe that what he's saying resonates with a large segment of folks who believe that, like, yo, the kneeling was out of pocket, who believe that, like, yo, the talk about social justice is irrelevant to football. Like, why won't they just play football? Because honestly, that's what a lot of them talk about. Like, yo, why don't they just play the game? Why do I have to be inundated with these themes of social justice? Like, they think these are just simply political like topics. And so, like, you'll hear a lot of people who like will parrot some of the same shit that this dude here is talking about. They will frame this as a political discussion. I watch football to get away from politics. I watch football to get away from all of this other like social justice stuff. Never mind the fact that a lot of the black players that they're watching have to deal with these what they would deem politics and social justice the minute that they walk off to that fucking field. The minute that they walk off that field, if a police officer decides to pull them over, if he's a lineman, he don't know if he's a fucking like left guard for the Miami Dolphins. He don't know that shit. What he does know is that's a huge ass black man getting up out of this car. So like there's that disconnect with this side of it where like they tend to think that like, yo, the NFL got it wrong and we don't need to be inundated with these messages of social justice, this, that, and the other. And I just want to watch football. And how dare Ryan Clark on ESPN tell me that I'm a racist or I support racism because I don't want to see that shit. Right? This is like these people. These are like we see these people every fucking day. And I want to make this clear. We see these kind of people every day. We work with these kind of people every fucking day. This is what they think. This is how they believe. This is how they move in this world. And so for the NFL to have players lock arms in unison for unity, they didn't even kneel. They didn't even do on like the national anthem. This guy's upset and he's taking credit for the fact that the NFL's ratings are down. because of the social justice messaging that the NFL is trying to put forward. Now, there's some other things that we could talk about as far as like, yo, the NFL is talking all this social justice shit and Colin Kaepernick not being a part of it. We could talk about that. But his reaction to this is how they think about you. And I think it's very important that we kind of listen sometimes to the other side of this so that like we understand where they're coming from. Also, when we know to like tear their ass out the frame. Right now, old boy is talking about like, yo, like Ryan Clark is calling the fans racist and like talking about racism. Never mind that, like he's talking about white people being shot by the police. Hey man, and then I alluded to this. Why aren't white people talking about white people being shot by the police, man? It's not.
You know what? Here's it's this topic and this when I say this topic, I want to be specific. Social justice is not something, and I just told this to my cousin. This is not a new topic. Okay. The only reason, I'm gonna say a few reasons. The only reason on multiple levels why it has exploded is because of technology. Okay, and that's real shit. There was plenty talk about what happened to brown and blacks for the past 100 years. All right, those that survived and seen it, right? We always depended on our leaders who had the platform to speak on these topics. And who were they? They were pastors, they were reverends, they were people in education, they were people who made it to certain political levels. Well, what has really made it big is because you have people who are popular. You have entertainers, sports athletes, and we're talking about, and I'm going to go way back today, the Arthur Ashes and the Muhammad Alis, who have fantastic speeches on YouTube saying the same thing that we're saying nowadays.
Hey, and what's funny about that is that like these same people, I can almost guarantee you that this guy thinks that Muhammad Ali was great, right? Because a lot of these folks will raise up Muhammad Ali and talk about how great Muhammad Ali was and this, that, and the other. And they would talk about how they thought it was inspirational for Muhammad Ali to be like lighting the cauldron at the Olympics in 1996 when he was suffering from Parkinson's and he couldn't fucking speak and all this other shit. But they will never go back to when Muhammad Ali was telling them the truth about the fucking case, like the country. Like, why the hell there and fight the Viet Cong? The Viet Cong ain't never called me nigga. They will never talk about Muhammad Ali in those terms, but they will elevate Muhammad Ali when Muhammad Ali was a vulnerable old man.
Well, I just want to finish my statement real quick. So when it comes to the reason why social justice is such a big deal now is because of technology, the fact that people have been able to see social injustice on the smallest level to the biggest level. And with that being said, I'm sure because a lot of the athletes have had family members or maybe themselves, like you said, getting pulled over, experience this, and they're able to preach on these platforms and actually make a difference in one way. And that way is this: money. When things start to alter who's getting paid, which is the people at the top, they have to start listening. Okay, when baseball started, one of the first games that I watched, of course, was the Cubs, and they played Milwaukee. Milwaukee has like some digital screens, right? Throughout the whole entire game, you've seen Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, and social injustice, inequality. I mean, it was plastered everywhere. Well, once again, technology. And because these guys, like he's saying, they're making millions and they have so much influence, now social justice is becoming a common term amongst every level of communications that you can possibly think of. And now they want to depict it and minimize it to a way where it's like, why is he complaining he's the highest paid player in the NFL? That has nothing to do with anything. The social justice still will happen to him as well as me and you because he's a brown person at the end of the day.
Not only that, like even if it doesn't necessarily happen to him personally, that man still got family members who
still got family, right?
Millionaires who still have who still have to deal with the social injustice that's going on in this country. So before we, like continue to rant, I kind of want to like go a little bit further with this video. So let me go ahead and play a little bit.
Go ahead.
That's exactly what's happening. So let's check this out right here. Let's listen to Ryan Clark make this nonsensical argument.
We're going to protest. We're going to stand up for social justice. We're going to stand up in the fight against racism. It wasn't that type of night. Other than Chris Collinsworth talking about it a little bit, it was truly about football. And so then Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson, two black dudes that are the highest paid players in NFL history, decide.
Also, let me make this point too. A lot of white folks tend to believe that because Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson are the two highest paid players in the NFL means that like racism has gone away. Like, yo, you can pay these motherfuckers, but that don't mean that when they leave the fucking NFL confines, that when they go out into the world, that racism just stopped when they got paid. You know what I'm saying? And like a lot of white people tend to believe that. Well, that means, I mean, that's just a reason for like, you know, there's no racism, man. I mean, God damn it, man. Patrick Mahomes, $500 million, brother. $500 million. You're going to call that racism? No, he got $500 million after he won a Super Bowl for a team that ain't won one since 1963. Come on, man.
Two highest paid players in NFL history happen to be a couple of black guys who are quarterbacks. But continue to tell me how NFL fans are ist.
We're going to come together. We're going to come together for unity. We're going to come together to say that we are all in this fight for the same thing. We want everyone to be treated equally. We want everyone to have the same justice system.
Then why was no one mentioning Tony Timpa or Daniel Shaver last night? Justine Damon. Why was none of the over 200 white people that have died this year mentioned? Why has not one white person been mentioned in this fight for police brutality and equality? Because it's not about what you say it is. It's about forming a false narrative. It's about pushing the nonsense when LeBron James says black people are being hunted when they leave their house. What? That's the problem. But of course, if you lived in the real world, Ryan Clark, you would understand this. But you are continuing to take your talking points from the mainstream media, and you're just repeating what you're told because you're an NPC.
We want everyone.
Okay. And this is the point that I wanted to make. This, like, white folks, if you're listening to this show, man, I'm gonna just say this shit, and I'm only gonna say this motherfucking thing one time. First of all, fuck this dude, whoever came up with this video. Fuck him. But I don't, as a black person, I don't need the mainstream media to tell me shit about what it means to be a black person in America. I don't need them to tell me shit. And imagine me going to a white dude to tell me that I need the mainstream media to tell me what it means to be black in America. So Ryan Clark, who's been black all his fucking life, needs the mainstream media to tell him what it means to be treated like a black man in America. Fuck you, man. This is
go ahead.
This is the disconnect that a lot of these people have. They're like, and it's that insidious sort of like subtle kind of racism where they're like, oh, you know, it's only in news because the mainstream media keeps pumping it down, and you believe that the police are hunting black people. Well, LeBron James is talking about they're hunting black people. I mean, we've lost 200 white people to police brutality this year. You don't hear anybody talking about that. How come y'all ain't talking about that? Why aren't y'all talking about that? If you're mad that Black Lives Matter is raising the attention of people who are talking about black people being killed by the police, hey man, how about y'all talk about the white people who are also being killed by the police? Seem like we got the same goddamn problem. Why are we all talking about this shit? Right? And so for the NFL, and far be it for me to be like, yo, pumping up the NFL for talking about social justice. But for the NFL to be like, hey man, you know what? We're not gonna have no like fucking what we call it, anthem like demonstrations or nothing like that. We're gonna lock arms. We're gonna show unity. We're gonna donate money to each city. Like Patrick Mahomes gave money to Houston, like hospital workers, and Deshaun Watson did the same for Kansas City hospital workers and shit. But we're gonna show unity. We're gonna show that we're trying to bring the country together. And for mostly white fans in those stands to boo that shit is pure fucking sism. I don't give a fuck how you feel about it, white boy. I don't give a fuck how you feel about it. That's what it is. Be in your feelings about it all you fucking want to. It's the goddamn truth. So there's that disconnect. And it's this thing where, like I said, we were talking about like the ratings going down. And there were black folks who were taking credit for the ratings being down because, Colin Kaepernick ain't got no job, so I ain't watching football no more. And then you got white people talking about, I'm not watching football no more because of the social justice and everything else. And then Ryan Clark is saying like, man, they're not even like protesting really. They just like locked arms. These niggas still booed. And you're mad at that discussion. Mad at that. That's how far apart like this nation is. Even with the sports, like as much as people like to look at sports like a unifying thing, that's how far apart we are. Or like even the note that talking about black people being treated as equals in this country gives you this idea that it's purely a political discussion and not a discussion about real things that are happening to real people who have to deal with real shit and are also the people that you think are going to just shut up and entertain you for an hour and a half every day.
Here, I mean, you know what, man? The disconnect is going to be a disconnect for a long time. After we're gone, it's going to be a disconnect. And the only thing I can say to all of this, man, is that because the topic is like at the top of damn near every media outlet in the world, probably, where I'm going to say at least in the United States, at least now it's a very widely spoken on topic, way more than before. And when it comes to how it relates to sports, is because now we have people who have influence and who have a platform and who have some power to make a difference. And it's just not your average, guy in the neighborhood who's trying to like, help people get an understanding of what's going on in the world. No, these guys have millions of people looking at them and listening to them. So, you're always going to have somebody like this dude, speaking out of the side of his neck. And guess what? That's what he really believes. It's unfortunate because we can be wrong about some of the things that we talk about, but if you're unwilling to be open to a conversation, to hear the other side and to come together to figure out a solution, then the disconnect will always be there, unfortunately. And, I myself, I understand that everybody has a different view of the world, and it's just the way that will always be. So a disconnect is just going to have to be something we live with. But bigger than anything, bigger than this guy talking crazy, is that now we've seen more things happening, like actual actions being taken to try to make some improvements. And to me, that's why it outshines everything that he says. And that's what makes me sleep at night when it comes to social injustice. And with that being said, it's just like, hey, man, you know what? We can find 100 people like him, but fortunately.
Oh shit! Like Cliff was about to say
he's going to be a non-factor. Huh?
Nah, for a second you froze up. Like I thought, like you froze up. I was like, man, it looked like Cliff was about to say something deep as hell, and then it froze up.
You didn't hear nothing I just said?
Just a second ago, like you.
Oh, okay.
It froze up on you, man. It froze up on you. For real, man.
That's all I got, man. That's all I got.
Man, I just like anytime I see or hear people like that, man, I just think of like, just smell like piss and bologna. That's all I just smell like piss and bologna. But it's time for us to get on up out of here. But before we do, y'all know how we roll.
Okay. We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it.
Yo, Cliff, man, what you winging on tonight, man?
Mitch Trubisky is not equal to Tom Brady, you asshole, first of all. Second of all, you hurt my feelings.
Hey, Cliff really want to tell me.
Ho, brother. Whoa. You got too much dip on your chip.
Got too much dip on your chip. After watching the Bears game today, oh, God. Why? I ask why. Why won't they get rid of him? This dude is trash. can't stand I can't stand them. We should have lost. If you saw the last 20 seconds of the game, we should have lost. I feel so bad for Matthew Stafford. Do you hear me? I feel so bad for Matthew because he's actually a very good QB. The guy who he threw the ball to, my son could have caught that ball. That was the game. I cannot bear watching games like that. Bear, no pun, but I cannot bear watching games like the Bears and the Lions today because it only just justifies why our back office is equal to a peewee league. Okay, we have really good players on the team, and who they choose to lead leads us down a rabbit hole. I don't care about Detroit. They have horrible statistics. They have been, they before they got possession of the last drive, they said how they out of the last year when they were up in the fourth quarter, they gave the game up 10 times. That is absolutely horrible, and it just happened again today. I don't want to win a game like that. That is not how you actually make it to the playoffs. So I'm saying this shit now. If the Bears make it to the playoffs, it's a wing and a prayer. Wing, no pun, and a prayer. Because that was, I can't do it. Listen, I got a full head. I will start to have a horseshoe watching the Bears. All right? That's all I got, man. God.
Oh man, like real talk. Like I said, man, I was being nice and shit. Like, and I told you earlier, I'm like, the Lions managed to snatch defeat from the arms of victory again. Like, I don't even feel anything about it. I'm a Lions fan, but I don't even feel shit. Like, I'm numb to it at this point, right? Because it's like, this is what we do. But I'm gonna go back to some baseball, man. I mean, I was kind of thinking about whether or not I should
baseball, span and baseball. I want to hear this one.
I was kind of thinking about whether or not we should even entertain the idea of there possibly being a red line World Series. You know what I'm saying? With the White Sox being in first place, the Cubs being in first place, both of them are pretty much locks for the fucking playoffs this year. You know what I'm saying? I was thinking about that. Then I thought about this story that I saw damn near a month ago that happened with the Toronto Blue Jays, man. So apparently the Toronto Blue Jays is playing against the Atlanta Braves. And there's a player on the Toronto Blue Jays who actually got caught beating off in his goddamn car. So we get this story here. This comes out of the Sport News. It says the Braves organist saw an opportunity to Thursday's game that they couldn't pass up. When Blue Jays catcher Reese McGuire stepped up to the plate, the organist could be heard playing Michael Jackson's Beat It. For those who don't follow which NBA players have been caught publicly masturbating, the reference likely went over your head. For those who do know, it was a clever moment. So they actually got video of them playing Beat It while this motherfucker walking up to the plate. Let me go ahead and pull this up so y'all can watch right along with your boy, because this is funny. I just think it's funny. I just think it's funny, man.
Disrespect. The disrespect.
Here we go, y'all.
Son. And on a night when the Braves would love, as you said, Jeff, some length out of their starter, he's thrown 28 pitches and he has one out to get in the third.
Well, I think they'd love some length, but also this kind of performance.
If we ain't been paying attention, the organist, he playing Beat It while this dude comes up to the plate. I'm sorry, bro. That's trolling on 3,000, bro. That's trolling. That's trolling on 3,000, man. So let me finish reading this article. It says, and in case you doubted whether the organist played Beat It, the man behind the keys confirmed it in the tweet. The McGuire was arrested in February as a witness claimed the Blue Jays catcher was pleasuring himself in a Florida parking lot. Cops say a witness told them the Blue Jays catcher had been masturbating in his parked car before they arrived on the scene. According to the report, cops say they rolled up on the parking lot and they saw McGuire in his shirt barely covering his genitals and his sweatpants around his ankles. Damn, bro. Around your ankles? Jesus Christ. It said they claim in the report that when they got McGuire out of his car, he had an erection, which was very apparent. So, off top, man, real talk. You don't get too many trophies out here on the spare. I mean, on the beer and chicken. Bro. Tip a hat to the motherfucking Atlanta Braves, bro. Like, tip a hat to the Atlanta Braves for like recognizing, like, yo, man, this motherfucker was beating off. I got something for him. Beat it.
Oh my God.
For real talk.
Classic.
Man. I mean, considering all the heavy shit we was talking about, I feel like we could go out on a lighter note, man. But yo, man, this has been episode 77 of the Beer and Chicken Podcast. Let me remind you guys how to get in touch with us over here and let your voice be heard. Go ahead and hit up the hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. Leave us those voicemail messages. Those messages will get played here live on the show, responded to in kind. You can also email us here at feedback@thespanreport.com. That's feedback@thespanreport.com. Leave us those emails, and of course, those emails will get read here and replied to here live as well. If you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook, if you leave those comments can also get read here live on the show. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spence. Go ahead and follow me there. Chop it up with your man Span throughout the weekend. How can they get at you, Cliff?
They can chop it up with me every day.
Okay.
DJ Neff Music on Twitter and Instagram. Every day, not during the week. Span checks this shit on Sundays. Whenever I get something that comes through. You know what I mean?
Indeed, man, indeed. Also, man, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and or Stitcher Radio. Man, those 5-star reviews are the ones that get read here live on the show. We really do appreciate everybody who does that. It doesn't cost you a dime, just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Beer and Chicken Podcast, man. And also, let me make this announcement too. The Beer and Chicken Podcast has its own feed on iTunes and on Stitcher Radio and on any other platform that you listen to podcasts on. So leave those reviews on that feed so that we can do that specifically for the Beer and Chicken Podcast, man. Real talk. Leave those iTunes, Stitcher reviews, Castbox reviews. Leave those comments there for the Beer and Chicken Podcast, man. I know it's a part of the networking. Sometimes, guys, like people will do that for the Span Report, but also leave those for the Beer and Chicken Podcast as well. And you can go to our website, www.thespanreport.com. Go there, watch replays of the show because those replays will be available there. You can vote in the polls when we decide to put those polls up. You can leave comments there as well on the show, on the website. You can also donate to the show as often as you like, as much as you like. And of course, we really do appreciate every dime over here at the Span Report Podcast Network. But I'd like to thank the homeboy Clip for joining us here again for episode 77 of the Beer and Chicken Podcast, man. My co-host, the homie. We go back like waves and stocking caps. You know what I'm saying? But we're gonna talk to you guys again soon. Until next time, fam. Peace.
Holla back.